Welcome to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show, presented by Hugh Hattrick. Here at Bathurst in the Forest, my very special guest, Basic Ollie, Rascal, Rabbit, Josh Martin. It's great to have you back on the show. Drive fast and try not to crash.
Hello there. It looks like sound has gone a bit. No, I've never had the video do that before, but it looks like we've finally caught up with the sound. But hello there. Oh, I know what's happened. Give me 2 wee seconds. That's it. I've got my. That's what it was. I had YouTube on as well. Sorry about that. Welcome everyone to the Car Sim and Race Driver Show. With me, Hugh Hattrick, and I have a very, very special guest all the way from Scotland as well. It is Wombleleader, Stuart. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm a bit nervous. I think this is maybe the first time I've been interviewed and not for a job in my life. So
don't worry, we don't fire people on this show. We're always very easygoing.
Well, we'll see how it goes, you know.
It's great to have you on the show. And of course, with it being the Car Sim and Race Driver Show, we're always looking to find out about your sim racing history and things like that, and also your passion for motorsport. And in the pre-build-up show that we were doing earlier on, we've got a great connection there with Formula One, so I'm sure it will bring a good bit of that into the show as well. Now, from racing and all these things, where did your kind of love for playing racing games begin?
Well, I suppose as you just mentioned there, I'm a big Formula One fan. Well, was a big Formula One fan. Not so much these days. And I like computer games as well. So naturally, I like playing racing games. I remember way back in my Amiga 500 days playing Jeff Crammond's Micropose Grand Prix.
Oh, yeah.
So that's probably my first serious racing game I remember playing. And then the original PlayStation, I think, came out also with a Formula One game. It launched with a Formula One game. I think that was based on the 95 season. I remember being blown away by that. Absolutely blown away by that, because Murray Walker did the commentary, and
that's right. Yeah.
Had TV graphics, you know. So it was like watching the TV on your screen. It was like playing an actual real Formula One.
Great. He had some good quotes on that as well.
I did, yeah.
I think if you crashed in the game and they said, "Oh, he hit the wall with a terrible thump," you know, like this or something like that, you know.
I think the worrying thing is, I think the commentary was better in that game than it is in some of the modern Formula One games.
Yeah, they don't have kind of interactive commentary now as they used to have, don't they? Because I always remember when it was Murray and Martin, they would have a lot more things happening, which was good.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Did Martin Brundle do the commentary in that one as well? Maybe he did.
Maybe it was him or was it? Yeah, I can't remember. But
you might be right. I think he was maybe still driving then.
I suppose, yeah, if that was late 90s, he just finished. Yeah. But no, they definitely had a lot more going on, and if you crashed, you always got a terrible review. Yeah. And that was it. But, and I think another one was Murray would say, "I do hope he's all right." You know,
yes,
when you're climbing out the car. But no, it's great. So you started playing racing games, and then how did it go on from there?
But first Gran Turismo, I can't remember what year that came out. Was it 97 or 98? So I remember playing that and being blown away by that as well. Absolutely, because that was quite revolutionary, I think, for a racing game, certainly on console. Gran Turismo, with the amount of tracks, cars, and the customization.
Yeah.
So I played all the Gran Turismos right through the PlayStation 2 era as well. And I guess the sort of first or the next big step was maybe for around about 2010, I got my first wheel. And that was in response. That was another Formula One game, funnily enough. That was the first Codemasters Formula One game, F1 2010. So that's what I played played it on the pad and thought, I'm going to get a wheel. See what it's like. So it was the best £80 I've ever spent. It was the Logitech Digiforce GT.
Oh wow.
It was £80. Honestly, the best £80 I ever spent.
Yeah. And did you get yourself? Sorry, did you get yourself some kind of seat to go with it, or did it just
No, it was clamped to a desk.
Brilliant.
And it was one of the ones you clamp it to a desk, and then you realise your seat moves about. So you get inventive. So you find ways to keep everything still, and so you're not moving about. And I remember getting bricks and stuff and putting them on a chair so the chair would stop moving about. And I think everyone's been there with wheels at some point. If you buy a wheel and you realise you've got nowhere to set it up, so you have to get inventive.
Yeah. And of course now you play a lot on GT Sport.
I do, yeah.
I take it you got all the GT Sport games as they kind of came through as well.
Yeah, I played 1 to 5. Played a lot of 5 as well. Online, that was probably my first online racing experience. Was playing Gran Turismo 5 and just in lobbies. Used to play with a really good bunch of guys and all that. Used to sort of proper races. It was good fun but serious.
Yeah.
So I played a lot of that. So that was I never played 6 though.
Aye. Yeah, I did. I think I did get Gran Turismo 6, and it was quite good. You had quite a good career mode and things like that. But then when GT Sport came, it kind of really revolutionised everything, didn't it? It was kind of took the multiplayer onto a kind of new level. And how did you find when you started that? Did that kind of make you decide that you wanted to go a bit further and eventually start a YouTube channel?
Well, I actually had a bit of a lull in sort of playing driving games between sort of GT5 and GT Sport. Probably never played a driving game properly on a wheel or anything for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Sort of life got in the way. I had a kid and sort of ran out of space, didn't have anywhere to put the wheel and stuff. And around about 2018, I got this itch just to play a racing game. And the only one I had was Forza 7 on the Xbox. So I played that on the pad. I thought, I'm quite enjoying this.
Yeah.
And then I must have watched somebody online playing GT Sport and thought, that looks really good. That looks like, I like the layout of that. I like the way it's sort of all one line and it's all based on your ability and you've got sportsmanship rate and stuff. So I went out and bought a G29 and a seat and a copy of Gran Turismo Sport, and 2 years later, here I am still playing it.
That's fantastic, isn't it? I think the G29 seems to be a very popular choice.
Yes.
I've had
a lot of love for the G29, a lot of love for it.
Yeah, it seems to be quite reliable and quite a good machine, and it gives you a decent experience. And
absolutely,
because I found out as well using the pads, you just struggled either with tire wear on some of the races, or you just couldn't quite get the kind of the speed that you needed. And as soon as you get on the wheel, it might take you a few days to adjust, but immediately you're quicker because you can just go around the corners better and things like that. So how did you find it when you got GT Sport and then you got set up with your rig? How did your driving kind of change? What was the difference that it made to your driving?
Well, it felt very comfortable, felt very natural. Haven't played a GT or a Gran Turismo game for 5 years, and I got everything set up, and it felt just natural. It just I felt quite comfortable straight away. Played the game, so I was able to get up to speed quite quickly and sort of progress through the ranks quite quickly.
And how do you find? Do you have a kind of favourite car and race combination that you like to play?
Probably Group 3, pretty much like everybody else. And I love the Jaguar in Group 3. Absolutely love the Jaguar.
It's a nice engine, nice sounding.
Yes. It's I really do think it's a severely underrated car in the class. It's nobody seems to have a very good opinion of it, but
well, I think it got adjusted recently in the BOP changes that they made. I wonder if it got.
I don't think the Jaguar get changed at all. No.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite fast, but it's not. It feels a bit heavier than some other cars. I know they were saying that at Bathurst, wasn't it, last week? That the Corvette seemed a bit more agile, but the Jaguar wasn't.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was racing at Bathurst in the Jaguar, and then thought I'll jump into the Corvette because that's what everybody's doing. I'll see if I'm quicker than that. And after one race, I was like, I wish I was back in the Jaguar here. So I think a lot of people get caught out just with the cars on the leaderboards sometimes and just think that's automatically the best car, and it's not necessarily be the best car for you.
Yeah. So do you have a particular kind of goal every year to try and go to a particular level, or like do you do FIA and things like that, or do you just have a goal when you want to?
Well, I've got 2 accounts. I like to keep them at A+. And my work means that I can't really kind of properly get into an FIA season at the moment. So if I do the FIA seasons, I try top 10 for my manufacturer and top 30 for the nations. Well, Not top 30 overall, sort of top 30 in the UK.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, I mean, to get to A+, you've got to be really, really very, very good indeed. What has it taken to get you there? Because you've not been playing that long, so you must be pretty fast. What's your secret for getting to the A+ level?
Well, I think I carried a lot of my experience over from playing Gran Turismo back in GT5 days. So as soon as I started playing GT Sport, it felt very natural. It didn't feel, that different. And the secret to getting to A+ for me is just to be consistent. And just, instead of trying to get 5th place and risking a penalty and spinning out, 6th and 7th place will do just fine. If you want to keep building your DR up, then it's just about constantly having kind of reasonable results rather than just the odd good result and 2 bad results.
I try to avoid penalties as well, isn't it? You can get a good, even if it's a lower position, but you finish well.
Yeah,
then that makes a big difference.
So if you could just jump on, if you play 5 races and you finish in the top 8 in all 5 of them, you'll build your DR up doing that rather than winning one and coming last in 3 and then maybe finishing 10th. It's just that's what I've found anyway. And playing late at night helps as well.
That's it. When you get some good races. Certainly now we've got some good comments here. Drew Griffin has said his secret is that he's Scottish. So maybe that's correct.
Scare people out the way.
Right.
I do have an Iron Brew livery in a couple of my cars, so I do let them know I'm Scottish.
Oh, that's quite good. Yeah, that's definitely the way to go, isn't it? That's the thing. And now one of my co-hosts has said, "What does Mr. Wombleleader drive? Is it something rear-wheel drive?"
Oh, in real life?
In real life, yeah.
Oh, I know. I drive a 1.6 litre diesel Renault Megane.
Oh, well, I think there's some French flair with that, though.
No, there's no much flair to it.
We've also got a thing saying, "Does Political Mind living in Glasgow and is Grand Theft Auto his favourite driving game?" But no, because that was the thing. Of course, when they used to do a Grand Theft Auto, they used to have great Scottish accents in it. There were some of those.
I haven't played a Grand Theft Auto since the original one, which is the top-down view. It's not my game. It's not my type of game at all.
That's fine. But now they've also asked, what is your normal name? And it's Stuart. Stuart, of course, is your normal name. So everyone in the chat, so everyone who's watching this now, let's get your questions ready and we'll fire them along at Stuart. Now, what's been your kind of most successful combinations and races that you've had when you've been doing the kind of online racing? Is there anything that particularly comes to mind as a favourite?
Put me on the spot there. I'll have to try and think. I tend to do quite well in the Group 2 cars. No matter what circuit it is, I just seem to always be quite strong in them. And Group 1 as well. I'm quite strong in Group 1. I feel like I'm stronger. I can kind of compete at the sort of the higher level in those cars more than Group 3 and Group 4. And I don't know why that is. I really don't.
Oh, that's great. I mean, because the Group 2 and Group 1 are much faster. So everything comes at you a lot quicker. So you've got to be ready to do, to kind of, I suppose, to cope with all of that. But and do you quite like because at the moment they're doing it, I think it's Group X, isn't it? It's Suzuka this week in the kind of single seaters. Is that a car that you quite like? Yeah,
I'm quite good at the super formulas, but I don't like racing them. I think they're too twitchy, and you have to give. It's very hard for people to race wheel to wheel in those cars because they're so fast. The braking zones are so heavy and short as well that it's very hard to race anyway. And the dirty air doesn't help either. So, but I will have a go. I'm doing a stream tomorrow on it, so we will have a go at them.
Yeah. Now we've had quite a good comment from Nilinski. He says that I knew this one was coming. He says, "Is he made of girders?" From Iron Brew, is it?
Yeah. Well, I should be. I've drank enough of it to be made of it.
No, it's great.
I'm trying to get bars as a sponsor, but they keep knocking back my requests. So
yeah, you would think they would be right into that, wouldn't they? Because they've always been adverts and things like that. You think this would be the best thing for them to get.
always make a point on stream to show about Iron Brew, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it unpaid at the moment, you know.
I know that's what we all are. I think for many of us, isn't it? That's the thing. That and Nelinsky has also asked, how many wombles does it take to change a tire?
Wombles just drive.
I was going to say, in fact, how did you come up with that great name? Because it's a fantastic name, of course. Why did you decide to choose that one?
I thought you might ask me that. So it's not that great a story. It was many years ago. I think there was maybe some alcohol involved, and one of my friends happened to. I don't know what I did, but he goes, "Oh, you're just a womble," and I said, "Well, if I'm a womble, I would be the Wombleleader, and you would be my womble, and you would be my womble minions," and that was pretty much the end of the conversation. And then the next day, he texted me just to see if I was alive, I think, after we drank so much alcohol, and he called me Wombleleader. He goes, "Wombleleader, come in." And I can only assume not that long after that I was creating my PSN account and wondering what to call myself, and went, a Wombleleader. That's
free.
That's the original name, I'm sure. You know, I'll file that in.
That's brilliant. No, that's really good. Now we've got some great questions coming in from Gary Gilmore. He said, "Do reversed racing tracks interest you?"
Reverse.
You know, so when they do a track that's in reverse, you know, like I suppose like when they sometimes do on GT Sport, like Maggiore, they sometimes do it in reverse.
Yeah, I think the more tracks the better. I'd love to see them use some of the actual real life tracks and give us reverse versions of them. I think that would be
crazy.
Excellent, yeah. You know, I've tried that. I've tried driving some of them in reverse. I've tried driving Fuji in reverse. That's very weird. That last sector doing it backwards is even worse than it is going forwards.
Yeah, how many dive bombs are you going to get doing that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite a thing.
But it's definitely something I've always wondered why they don't give us reverse versions of these tracks. It must be something to do with the licensing. Is like all the thing I can assume because.
Yeah. Because I remember last year they did it was April Fools with Damon Hill and Johnny Herbert, and because of all the mix-ups and all the kind of things going on with the calendar, they said they were going to do Silverstone. The second race was going to be reverse, the other way around, and they were doing it seriously in this video, right. And then of course it was on April Fools, and this was I think it's too dangerous because obviously you don't have all the runoff areas are in reverse, and so it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand that in real life they don't have the same safety, not designed for going backwards, but in a computer game.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see the harm in it. But,
the game
it must cost more money. That's the only thing I can think of. It must cost them money to run the track in reverse.
I know, that's the thing. So talk about them in terms of, you know, that seems to be a big talking point at the moment is the penalties. How are you finding avoiding penalties and dealing with penalties, and has it affected your racing at the moment?
With the I think I have a slightly different point of view on the penalty system to maybe some other people who stream. I'm a bit more pragmatic about it. I'm a bit more accepting of it. And what the sort of point of view I look at it is I can't fight it, I can't beat it. So I can only change what I do to try and avoid penalties. Yeah. So I kind of learned, what do you get penalties for? Well, if you tap somebody from behind, you get a penalty. So don't tap people from behind. It's my philosophy, you know. And if I'm going into situations in races where, for example, last week coming down the mountain in Bathurst, you can't overtake going down the mountain. So there's no point me being 1 meter behind the guy in front of me. So I'll just back off a little bit. So I give myself a bit more time to react. But yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending the penalty system. It's pretty bad at times, but I was actually sort of saying to somebody the other day, I don't think I've had a penalty in the last 13 races that I've streamed. So
that's pretty good.
So I'm doing something right with it. My tactics are working.
I only had one race when I didn't get a penalty. in the last, that was a miracle.
I'm not envisaging carrying that record on for much longer at Suzuka in the Super Formula cars.
To be fair, that race wasn't quite as bad as some races. But it was just even when you didn't even touch people, if anyone span off and just got in your way, you would get a penalty or anything, you know. But no, that's the thing. And one of my other co-hosts has said We've got Espen Lonsted, who makes a lot of our liveries for our streaming. So we need to make some Scottish liveries. So, for example, an Iron Brew or a Tunnocks or a McSween's Haggis. That would be quite a good one, isn't it? That I've got one because my other PSN is Fat Man in the Cheap Sim. And I've got it on the Audi, and I've got a KFC library for it, and it's very good. And then it has on it the KFC library, and then it says the reason why I'm a fat man in a cheap sim, and it points to KFC. So that's the one. Yeah. That now Gary Gilmore has said, would you give Momo's a penalty if he messed with you?
I've had my moments with Momo's long before I did any YouTube stuff. I certainly had my moments with Momo's. I was in a race with him around Yamagiva. I think that's how you say it. He was up to his usual nonsense, so he was dive bombing people, blocking people. So I took one for the team and killed him. So yeah, I got a 5-second penalty for it. And then when I served the penalty, I ended up behind him again, and when I came, he waited on me and then took me out. So
I have to say, Nilinski has come up with a cracker. He says Momo's for the next FIA president. But no doubt, you never know. You never know.
Guess everything would go then, wouldn't it? You know, there'd be no rules if Momo's was president.
That's right. All the kind of FIA stewards would be fired.
He's an interesting character. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, what's been some of your highlights then of recent racing on GT Sport? What do you kind of like the most, or the races that you've done the best at?
The most recent ones, hard to think. I quite enjoyed that race, the Group 3 race at Laguna a wee while ago. I like that one. The tyre wear was quite severe. I'm quite good on tyre wear, so I was able to generally move forward in those races and have some good races. What else have we had as well? Group 1 at Spa, I actually enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would.
I don't think I did that race, to be fair. They were quite good cars though. They're quite fun to drive actually.
It was when I first seen that combination, I thought, because it was going to be a no stop. I didn't think much of it, but then racing it was actually a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. But there was a race a wee while ago. It was Group 4 at St. Croix, one of the long tracks. That was definitely one of the best combinations in a long time. That was a really good
a lot
race.
of people say they quite like the St. Croix, don't they? They say it's quite, I haven't really done much practice around it, to be fair. But I know a lot of the big streamers really do like that track, and they seem to always like it. I'm always saying, no, it's a long, it's miles and miles. I quite like the short circuits, you know.
You definitely need to learn it.
No, that's the thing. But what's your least favorite combination when you see that one coming up? You think, oh no, I'm going to avoid that like the plague.
No, anything to do with a road car.
All right, yeah.
I avoid the road cars like the plague. With a few exceptions, the Mazda MX-5 is quite good. I quite like driving that.
Oh yeah, they did like the touring car one is quite fun.
Yeah. But I think that's more of a race car than a road car, though.
Yeah. No, actually, you could kind of thrash it a bit more, and it reacts quite well overall, doesn't it? Which is quite good.
But I'm just rubbish in the road cars. I really am. So in comparison to the racing cars.
So when you see a Toyota GT86 at Fuji on race C, and with tyre wear times 10 and something, it's like you're going to be doing about 3 stops. It's going to take you about 40 minutes to do it.
Yeah, not my cup of tea at all.
Now we've got a few people who just recently joined us. We've got Mayday Gaming and also Chris Brown and Serality as well has joined us very recently. And Serality says that he has made a Donald Trump and Matt Hancock livery. I'm sure that one would go down well. You'd probably be quite a target if you put that on. No doubt you'll give that one to me in a few days' time. But we're doing that one on Monday. And Chris Brown has asked you, what do you rate the Northlife out of 10?
Well, see, this is where you can get yourself into trouble, isn't it? Because people hold the Northlife very dear to their hearts, so they will not hear a bad word against it.
And you're a Schumacher fan, you can't say anything against it.
I know. I'm in the middle with it. I like it. I like driving it. I agree with a lot of people that it's not great to race on because it's so narrow. But I do. It's quite fun. It is. It's good fun. Yeah, and I'm pretty confident from driving it in GT Sport. I could go to the real thing and drive it. I think I know all the corners. So, I do know it off by heart. So
yeah. No, that's the thing. I mean, I think actually, to be fair, it's one of the exceptions that if you get a decent road car on the Nordschleifer, it's not quite so bad because maybe they're not quite as fast and
yes,
they road a wee bit better, isn't it? So you can maybe get a bit more of a battle in some of those kind of cars. But
I think maybe one of the things I'm not a big fan of the Nordschleife in the game is that it's a weak track for me as well in comparative to I see some players that I'm sort of level with speed with who are much faster than me in the Nordschleife. I do think a lot of people specialise in the Nordschleife.
Yeah. I find even the normal Nürburgring GP circuit is a tough one. It's knowing because on GT Sport you can take so much more curb than you can in anything else. You try the same in a set of Corsa, and there's no way they would let you do it. But it's kind of, I find it quite hard to get the curbs right, and it is quite a challenge there. But now we've got a couple of questions regarding the new GT7 game. One is from Drew Griffin as to what tracks you would like to see, and Gary Gilmore has asked, what are you expecting with GT7? So that kind of covers both. What would you like to see on GT7 first of all?
I would like to see. I'd like to see a really good single player game in GT7 and also AI to match it. So the races are actually worth. There's a bit of challenge in the races. I would love to see that in GT7. Don't know if my phone there. Sorry. A lot of the obvious things for GT7, a day, night, weather, wet weather, transition, all that stuff as well would be really good. And really, I think they could just take GT Sport and plonk it into GT7 as the online section and change very, very little about that. Except maybe the penalty system. They've got a lot more processing power with the PS5. I'm pretty sure we can get a refined, better penalty system.
That's the thing. That and in terms of tracks,
sorry,
some of the old tracks as well, or would you like to see some of the old tracks come back?
Oh, definitely love to see some of the old tracks come back. Grand Valley Speedway is a must.
I remember that one with the big rocks.
Apricot Raceway as well. That was one of my favourites.
Oh yeah, I think it always seems a bit of a blur. I mean, I remember playing them, but I wouldn't be able to tell you which one was which. I think the Grand Valley Speedway because that was a really fast one. And it was a really short circuit as well, wasn't it? But I love the mountain one, the one that was at the mountain.
Trial Mountain.
Yeah, Trial Mountain was great fun.
Yeah, well, we know that's coming back. We do know that one's coming in.
Yeah.
No, it's Gran Turismo. Their kind of backlog of tracks is just incredible. Their fictional tracks, how they come up with them, I've no idea. Yeah. What they should do maybe is get the guy who's coming up with all the tracks to maybe try and do something with the penalty system because.
That would work quite well.
The track designer seems to know what he's doing or she's doing.
No, absolutely. And just to quickly go over one or two wee things, I know that Mayday Gaming had asked, do you like high downforce cars like Group 2 and Group 1, which you had kind of agreed on earlier?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Those kind of fast cars, which is good. And Mayday Gaming says, I'm the opposite, the less downforce, the better. But it's kind of fun, isn't it? Because everyone has a particular type. I would love to see kind of low-powered single-seaters, like Formula Ford. I think I could do a Formula Ford series. I think that would be amazing on GT Sport. And I don't know if there are any plans to do it because I just think you could have some really good close racing and maybe tracks like Donington Park. And obviously they've not had Silverstone this time. Maybe they'll get it the next time. But some of those kind of tracks would be quite fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anything that's sort of Formula Ford, low-powered single-seaters, always good fun.
Aye, that's the thing. And now, Serenity has said that there's a game by Mercedes. Is it Mercedes World Racing on the PC? Or maybe that was an older game, potentially. But is it mainly GT Sport that you play, or do you try other games as well?
Mostly GT Sport. I play a little bit of... I can't get into Assetto Corsa Competizione. I don't know why. It just doesn't do it for me. And I'm started playing iRacing just in the last couple of weeks. And
all right.
Quite enjoying that. Yeah, it's quite good. It's very daunting if you don't know what you're doing, which I don't. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of menus and clicking and trying to find where you're going in the menus and stuff. But once you go onto the track, it doesn't feel a million miles away from GT Sport and handling, I don't think.
Yeah. Because I remember talking to Super GT about that, and he said that he wasn't quite so keen on iRacing because he finds that you have to be so light with the control. So in real life, things are a bit heavier and there's a bit more strength required. Do you find the same with iRacing, that you have to be very kind of precise, and is it quite a light game to drive?
The braking is very unforgiving. That's the biggest thing I've noticed. If you miss your braking point by 5 meters in iRacing, you're going off. There's no recovery.
All right, yeah.
Whereas with GT Sport, you can at least just stamp in the brake and get the car slowed down. With iRacing, it's very, very unforgiving.
Yeah.
But I don't find it particularly light, though. I think I've got the force feedback. Yeah. And
here's a good question from Gary Gilmore. He says, should we have tyre wear and fuel use in practice?
Yes. There should be an option. There should be an option when you go into the qualifying time trial to either do qualifying conditions or race conditions. And I believe there was an update many months ago where it suggested that's what they were going to put in, and it never materialised. It was in the patch notes. It never happened.
But
I think it could be a good thing, because I think a lot of people go from the qualifying where you've got no tyre wear and no fuel, and then they go into the race conditions and the car's not completely different, but a wee bit different. And that's why you see so much carnage at turn 1, because people miss their braking points. They're still trying to brake like they're in time trial.
Yes, that's the thing. And I know that certainly when you play on a Assetto Corsa, you're really going to watch, because you've got cold tyres normally in the first lap. And everyone agrees to stay off the curbs, and I never do, and I always take out people. That's why my SA rating is barely on like 58. It's taken me about a year to kind of get there, but I'm not, to be fair, I don't play it that much. But no, it is quite funny, the first corner in GT Sport. Now, just very quickly, we've got Mike Rogers Racing in the chat tonight, and of course I'll be interviewing Mike tomorrow. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday, Mike.
In the chat will wish him a happy birthday. But he'll be on the show tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and he is an Assetto Corsa specialist doing some soaring times in the time trial and racing on ACC. So we look forward to that. And of course, on Friday, we've got Riley Phillips, who is a go-kart champion and is also a real racing driver and drives in, I think it's the fun sport category. So he'll be on Friday night at 9 o'clock, and he's only 18 years of age, and he also builds sim rigs. So that will be a lot of fun interviewing both Mike tomorrow and then Riley on Friday. But let's get back to Wombleleader, and let's see what the questions are. Now, Chris Brown has asked, what are your views on slipstream in qualifying?
Same as everybody else's. I wish it wasn't a thing. Certainly, in FIA, I don't do slipstream qualifying in the FIA, and it's quite a big penalty for me, because I just don't think it should be a thing. I can't bring myself to do it. But it's definitely worth time if you get it right. So it's definitely either turn it off or make us qualify on our own.
Because the slipstream can be pretty powerful.
It's too strong at the moment.
Yeah, and that can make quite a difference, especially if you're on a track with lots of long straights and things like that. And how do you find some of the tracks that are made, that are the kind of fake tracks, but in the current group, like, Maggiore? I'm not sure about Alsace, if it's obviously not an official racetrack, maybe not. But how do you find those kind of tracks? Because some of them are quite good.
Oh, I think they're all good. The fantasy tracks, I don't think there's any of them in GT Sport that I don't like. Even Alsace or Alsace, however you say it. I know nobody knows how to say it. I quite like that. I remember doing a Group 2 race in that track, the reverse version of it ages ago, and surprisingly good fun.
It's all these off-camber kind of corners, isn't it, that get you, especially when you go the normal way round. And if you're in road cars, they're horrible. It's horrible to try. Especially that turn 1, and it just slides out, even though when you hit the apex, it's so hard to know when to kind of get on the gas nice and early to go up the hill.
It's definitely a weird track. It's definitely a track you have to give a bit more attention to get used to it. But once you get into the flow, it actually feels quite good.
Aye. Well, we've got some good questions here from Serenity. What's Wombleleader's favourite camera view and camera view and car from Serenity? What's your favourite camera view and car in GT Sport?
I play on, well, I think it's called roof cam, but I call it bonnet cam. I don't like, I like that one because you can see enough. I wish I could play in cockpit view, but I think you're just at a disadvantage in cockpit view.
Isn't it? It does look nice, but it definitely restricts you an awful lot.
It's why I quite like watching adventure racing streams, because he drives in cockpit view and he's one of the few to do it. And he's really quick in cockpit view as well. A lot of people say you can't be competitive in cockpit view, but he kind of makes a mockery of that.
Yeah, no, he's very, very good actually. I had James on the show just before Christmas, and he was excellent. He's done extremely well. And that kind of covers our next question from Gary Gilmore. Which GT Sport YouTuber streams do you like to watch?
Oh, I think I've watched everybody. I still watch everybody at some point. But I like Tidgeny. I think particularly Tidgeny and FIA, because I think you learn a lot from Tidgeny. He's got that the World Tour experience as well. He gives you that little insight to things. I think. But I watch everyone. I watch Key. I watch PX Cam. I watch James. I don't want to miss anybody out now. But
you don't watch me.
No, I was watching you the other night, Hugh. So I was watching you the Super Formula.
And you were thinking, good gracious, he's awful.
Another Scottish streamer's Dead Idle Boy. I'm quite enjoying watching his stuff at the moment.
All right. We'll have to find out about him. That would be.
As I say, I watch. I don't want to miss anyone out. But
you'd be forgiven for not watching our show. I'll say take the night off.
No, I've watched a number of the interviews, I have to say.
And the interviews have certainly gone well. The
game interesting stuff.
You never know how the game is going to go. You hopefully kind of have an idea how the interview might go, but the gaming's slightly different. We have good fun on both. Now, I've seen this question said a couple of times, so I know NRT will be desperate to get an answer for this one. If you choose a manufacturer, which one would it be?
Oh, well, Citroen is in the past been my favourite manufacturer to drive for. I do like the Citroen cars. As a Group 3 and Group 4 combined, I think both cars are really competitive. I also like Jaguar. And I think this season, when the new season starts, I think I'm going BMW.
Yeah. I know that's now that the Citroen's an interesting choice, because I know a lot of people really struggle with the Citroen. But no, that's good to see that you can actually make use of that and make that one work going around, because it's. I mean, they are in there, but you don't see them being raced so much. It's a lovely looking machine. But it's not always. It proves to be quite a hard car to drive. So the fact you can get that one to be competitive is pretty good. But no, that's good. Now here we are. What is? Let's see. That's the next question here. What was your childhood dream car? That's from Sarah.
Oh, childhood dream car. Which is it's got to be the Ferrari F40, I suppose. I think as a kid, that was the iconic car of my sort of childhood, was the Ferrari F40.
Yeah. They were kind of amazing machines, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I did believe that there was only 40 of them made. I think my brother told me that there was only 40 of them made, so that's why I thought that. I think that's a myth. Isn't it?
It wasn't. They didn't make very many of them. I don't think it was. Maybe,
did it not? No.
Was it not, or maybe was it 999? No, I don't even think it was that. Maybe I think it was 400. I think maybe they made either 399, and then they have to use one as a crash car. So it was something. I'm sure when it was on one of the old Top Gear videos when they had it. But what a thing! I mean, that period for cars was incredible.
It's just it's insane.
But and how about today? If you could kind of buy any car, what would it be?
Well, the car. If I could buy any car today, it might surprise. I'd buy a GTR. This and GTR.
All right. Yeah,
I think they're just incredible machines. And the sort of daft thing about that is I think it's achievable. I think maybe one day I could actually buy one. Not a brand new one, obviously, but maybe one from 2005 or whenever they came out. You know, at some point they're going to be maybe just about in my price range.
Well, if we're getting minus finance rates, you never know, they might pay you to have one. So it's going to be this rate.
There's literally a Nissan garage just down the road from me that's always got 2 or 3 sitting outside it.
It was funny that you say that, because I was actually looking on Auto Trader. I love looking at Auto Trader, just on anything pre-reg and anything new, see what the discounts are, because I think it's quite a good time to buy a car just now. As the kind of dealers are trying to recover. But there was a new one for £82,000, and it should have been about 89. So they're obviously giving a bit of money off. But
maybe getting 2 of the ones.
But and one of my co-hosts and good friend Jonathan has reminded me that when I was a bit younger, I used to have the picture of a Hyundai Accent on my wall. But he's saying I don't mention that much. But that was when I was really into cars and fleet. So
interesting choice.
Yeah, I know. I'm running a good kind of psychiatrist, I think, to help me recover from that one. You know, but I know it's quite a thing. But what people who are watching probably won't know is that you, Stuart, are a big Formula One fan. I know you said a little bit about it earlier on, but you've been watching Formula One at a very similar time to me. But you had an amazing experience in 2011 at the Italian Grand Prix. Now, tell our viewers what that was like.
Well, pretty incredible. So Alonso actually came third on that race, so driving for Ferrari at the time. So up on the podium, we were on the track right underneath the podium to sort of, in amongst all the tifosi with the flags and stuff, everybody going bananas. Nobody caring who came first or second. It was Alonso was on the podium. So pretty amazing experience to be in that position. If you've seen it on the telly, it's even more crazy. And amongst it when it is at the telly.
Well, they have when they come onto the track at the end, don't they? They have that huge flag that kind of covers almost the whole track, and that looks amazing.
Yeah.
When they have that, but oh no, that must have been quite an experience. I mean, was everyone just cheering and shouting out the Italian national anthem, or what?
Oh yeah. Everybody. Didn't matter what colours or teams' colours that people had on. Everybody was just giving it the old, you know.
You just naturally start doing it. Oh, that's fantastic. Now
it was a great race as well. I think as I said to you earlier on, it was that race where Schumacher and Hamilton had the battle for 8 or 9 laps, swapping positions and racing on the limit, maybe slightly over the limit at times, but it was.
I know that's the thing, isn't it? But
and
it was a glorious day, wasn't it? It was a glorious.
It was
Monza.
Horrendously hot.
Yeah, I always remember watching. I think it was back in '92 or '93. When Mansell, I think it was '92 when Mansell was driving, and they always in the old BBC intros, you know, they'd have Murray Walker would start, and he was standing on the grid, and he said, "Here we are at Monza, where Grand Prix history literally oozes from the tarmac." You know, and he could come up with it all, and he could list all the famous drivers that had raced there, and all that kind of thing. So it's an amazing place. In fact, Jonathan went there last year to watch the race, because he couldn't actually get inside, but he went outside the park, and he got right up to the gates, and that was as close as he could get.
Was that at Monza?
And that was at Monza last year for the Italian Grand Prix. But the helicopters were actually louder than the cars, because we could hear the helicopter, but we could barely hear the cars. But he's saying he still wants his expenses for that trip from me. But he'll have to wait a long time before he gets that one. But he says, "What's Monza like inside the fence?" Because he never quite managed to get there.
It's a great one if you're going to pick a race to go to. It's definitely one I would recommend, because really good access. You can walk around the whole track and stuff, and it's just outside. You fly into Milan. And you get a train to within about a mile and a half of the circuit, and you walk up to it. It's very easy to get to. So definitely, if you're fighting to go to a Grand Prix, it's what I would recommend.
Yeah, no, it does seem to be pretty good going. Now, here's a question back on sim racing from Drew. What's more important, raw speed or racecraft?
I'm not sure one's more important than the other, but I think you need both. Racecraft and consistency, I think, will stand you in pretty good stead. But you need a bit of speed to go with it.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I used to love doing time trial But then I always realise as well that if I don't practice on my racecraft as well and racing etiquette, you'll go down, isn't it? You can have a very good time trial time, but then you're nowhere in the race because you can't keep up with the traffic kind of thing, isn't it? You've got to be able to manage that well. But so no, that's a good one. And Gary Gilmore has asked with the PS5 and GT7, do you think gaming YouTubers will have a new influx of fans?
I think, given how much people want the PS5 at the moment and the fact you can't get one, there's a huge demand for it. So I think it's a long time since we've had a new Gran Turismo game as well. So I can imagine the sales are going to be phenomenal once it eventually gets here. So I guess that will bring a lot of new people into the fold.
I was going to say as well, because obviously other games that you've tried playing, like I said, of course, would you ever play like a touring car game? Because I think there's rumours there's going to be a BTCC game coming out.
Definitely would.
Because I think we've got a good history of touring cars in Britain, and some great Scottish drivers like John Cleland and many others. Of course, he's double world champion. I was looking at his history today. I think the old Toka touring cars was a great game. I don't know if you ever played that.
Yeah, you just the words out of my mouth. I was going to say I did play the Toka touring car games. They were really good as well. The one, if I remember rightly, that was really very simulation, very hardcore one of them. It was really difficult.
You heard every crunch and all the travel in the wheel arches, all the stuff was pretty good, and it was a hard game to play. You couldn't really get away with much, and it was pretty good. We've got a quick question actually from Jonathan saying, when you were watching the Grand Prix, where did you actually watch it from?
I was at the Ascari chicane. So just at the entry to Ascari.
And so I mean that's a hugely fast section. Come off that straight, isn't it? And then they seem to take so much speed into the left hander and hold the curves on the right, and off they go, isn't it? Of course, they would have at that time. Did they not have the overrun on the exhaust? Didn't they? They had those funny exhausts.
the blown diffusers,
and so they made that incredible sound when they came off the gas. And it was. I think that's the time I very much miss. I think it was a great period for Formula One. And so the V10 engines were amazing when they used to go past, like the Ferrari 2004 car. It was exceptional. Also the Williams Renault was a great engine in that as well. But no, that's quite a thing. But so it is quite nice. So keep your questions coming to everyone in the chat, so we can keep Wombleleader busy with all these sim racing questions. If you were going to do touring cars, what kind of car do you think you would like to drive in that, or what season or era would you choose?
I can't. I've not watched it any time recently, so I probably really can't answer that. I don't have the knowledge, I don't think, to really answer that properly.
I think I'd quite like the Alfa Romeos of like Tarquini in '94, the 155, where he did his big roll at Knockhill. He had a kind of double roll down there, and also the Cavaliers, the Volvo estates, and all sorts of stuff that they had.
Who was the German driver that drove for Audi?
Was it Winkelhock?
No, it wasn't Winkelhock. It was a grey Audi. Used to drive, and they were winning because I'm sure they had to put ballast in the car or something to.
They had 4-wheel drive, didn't they?
They
had.
Was it Muller? Was it Muller?
Ivan Muller. Was it Ivan Muller? It may have been. I know he went to Renault as well for a while. But no, I think it was maybe Ivan Muller because they had the Audis and they were always very good in the wet.
Very good in the wet. Yeah. So that's the era I would pick, because I would know some of the drivers and cars.
They're all saying in the chat, Muller and the Volvos, they were the ones. NRT Vegas is definitely a fan of that game because he's answered all the questions there about the drivers and the cars.
Nice to see Vegas there.
Yes, no, I love all these chat names. Just trying to read them and hopefully make them sound correct in terms of how you spell them and pronounce them. Is the thing. And Serality has said that 1998 was the best time for Formula One. And of course, that's when Hakkinen won, wasn't it? That's when he got his first world title. It was certainly a pretty good one. And Serality said Ridge Racer is still a racing sim from the old school favourites. I remember Ridge Racer, wasn't it? That was it was quite a big arcade game.
Oh, it was very arcade.
That was the thing you used to get. You turn the wheel and not
Yeah.
much happened.
You never knew what the back of the car looked like in Ridge Racer because you were going sideways the whole time.
Aye, and it just say time extension, and then that would be it. Wouldn't it? That's the thing, and then your money was up.
Yeah. I was rubbish at it.
I know that's the thing. Well, we've covered a fair amount in fact, nearly 50 minutes that we've been going so far. But in terms of summing up for things like Gran Turismo Sport, what would be your kind of goals for this year and your plans to kind of take your channel and your sim career forward?
Goals for just to keep doing what I'm doing on Gran Turismo Sport. It's working for me. My last live stream there, I actually hit my highest DR ever on any account. So, so just keep doing what I'm doing. I still just enjoy. I enjoy just going on and playing 4 or 5 races and just what I like. I prefer to have a clean race and know that I've driven correctly the whole race rather than the result. That's tends to be more important than the result. That I can
more satisfying. Yeah,
I can come to the end of the race and go, I didn't make any silly moves. I didn't have any crashes. I was consistent. And that's the satisfaction I get from the game.
Yeah. And one quick question as well. How do you, I know we did talk about momos briefly earlier, but if you're in a race, because that's a nice strategy to take to try and avoid accidents. But when you have a lobby that's full of very, very aggressive drivers, how do you deal with that? Because you don't really want to be jumping out of the way, but at the same time, you don't want to be getting in contact with them.
If somebody wants to come through and they're that desperate to get through, then I will get out the way. I wouldn't lay out the red carpet for them. I wouldn't just kind of pull aside and go, right, on you go. But if they get a run on me into a corner and I'm fairly certain they're going to go for it, I'll give them the space to make the move. If that's the way some drivers want to drive, that's the way they want to drive.
Because it does seem like there can be times when that's the lobby that you get into, isn't it? And sometimes it's like at Dragon Trail, you'll get that coming down the hill, the back kind of hill, coming into that kind of sharp right. And then they always are trying to outbrake it, and it's so easy to outbrake yourself into that. But if they're alongside, but if you can sometimes brake a little bit earlier, isn't it? And then you can do the cutback, because a lot of people get dragged into the wall. But you do find that there can just be bad lobbies where everybody's trying to push you aside and kind of make mincemeat of you, isn't it? And it can be...
I call it the 2 tenths syndrome. There's a lot of drivers who, if they're 2 tenths behind you, that's their green light to go for a move. That's why I call it the 2 tenths syndrome. He's 2 tenths behind me. That driver's 2 tenths. I bet they're going to go for the move. And
it's funny, isn't it? But
I think moments in that, sometimes you remember the bad moments and forget all about the good stuff, and you like and I think kind of bad driving. I think I've seen a lot more examples of good driving and good racecraft and good battles that have had bad experiences. So,
that's good. That is good to know, isn't it?
So just you have a dirty driver does something to you, you get a bad move made on you, then you just brush it off and go on to the next one.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, look, it's been amazing to have you on the show tonight. And you've answered lots and lots of questions, and we've had some great questions as well from our chat. So thanks to everyone who's been watching as well. Just to quickly recap that tomorrow we've got Mike Rogers Racing, and that will be at 9 o'clock as well on the channel. And on Friday we've got Riley Phillips at 9 o'clock as well, who is a karting champion and also a real racing driver. But to finish off with tonight, Stuart, what would be your top tips for getting your times down and being fast on GT Sport?
No, I don't think I'm the right person to make you a faster driver, but in terms of I can maybe help you get better results through racecraft and stuff. But that maybe be the thing I think maybe people concentrate too much on trying to drive faster all the time rather than drive smarter. Try and drive smarter rather than faster. That's
a good idea, actually. Yeah, no, definitely. Top advice there. So rather than faster, drive smarter. That of course, now Nielinski always has a question, and I always tell him he's going to have to write this question down because I can never remember it. When you have 2 young children, your day is just too long to be able to remember this question. But to give you an idea, it's to do with ducks. So while
Yes, I think I know the question. I think I've heard it before.
you might, that would it be? Which would you rather fight, a single horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
Yeah, I would take on the horse-sized duck.
That's pretty good, actually.
Because at the end of the day, it's still just a duck, and I'm not scared of ducks.
Exactly. You've got your 12 bore. Right?
That's it, you know. You only need one bullet rather than 100 bullets.
And then you can fry it there and barbecue it later on. That's the one. So,
feed yourself for the year.
You know. It's been great to have you on the show. Stay on the line as we close everything up. But to everyone who's been watching, thank you very, very much for joining in. I know a few of you just joined in the last few minutes, but it's been great to see you all. And thanks very much for your questions. And hopefully you'll join us tomorrow and Friday. But we've got our crazy lines on this show. It is, of course, drive fast and try not to crash. And if you do, you'll win the race at the first corner. But thanks very much to Wombleleader. It's been great to have you on the show. And to everyone watching, take care. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Bye just now.